So now that we're talking about the importance of relationship, we're gonna continue with the relational well-being. And I'm gonna share with you a study that was done by Harvard University that started in the 1930s, and they followed students and community members for 75 years. They studied them physiologically, like with blood samples, scan brains, psychologically, environmental measures, questionnaires. Many researchers follow them years after years. The research results show that the best predictor of happiness is relationships. Belonging to a community helps us to live longer and happier. So it didn't matter what kind of relationships. For some it was the romantic partner, for some of them were friends or co-workers, but relationships in general are really important. And of course it wasn't the only predictor, but it was the number one. Also, the best predictor for health was also relationships. They matter a lot. So the happiest countries in the world, like Colombia, Denmark, Costa Rica, Israel, Australia, not necessarily are the richest ones, but the ones that actually put as a priority the relationships. In Denmark, for example, 93% of people are members of social clubs and active members of different kinds of clubs, and they support each other a lot. So these relationships have to be deep and close, right? The connection has to be really close. Especially now with the virtual world, relationships are not as strong or as deeper as in the past. And this is important to understand because the studies are already showing the implications of substituting real relationships with virtual ones. In this study from the University of San Diego, Dr. Twench found a mental health spike in adolescents. She began to notice that the levels of loneliness, depression, and suicide began to increase by 30%. And she identified that the smartphone usage of teens is what actually started affecting them. Relationships become closer and deeper when we interact with each other, not when we like or dislike a post, right? When we actually have a conflict and we know how to solve it, when we celebrate something together. So teens have to start interacting more with each other. This is affecting also the levels of empathy that are increasing significantly up to 40% rather than 20 years ago, compared to 20 years ago. So if empathy goes down, that's troubling for parents, for individuals, for organizations, as a society, right? Because people, and the reason why is because people are not really interacting with each other anymore. Empathy is the moral sentiment that unites us. So imagine that I want to learn a new language, right? The best way to actually learn is go to that place where they speak the language, right? The same happens with empathy. We can learn from books, but the only way we're gonna really learn how to be empathetic is to immerse ourselves in the place where empathy is spoken. And this is by interacting with other people. This is when we see people experiencing feelings, when we see people laughing, crying, or when we make mistakes, when we solve conflicts. This could get worse as kids are spending way too much time in the virtual world. So instead of the real world, we need to go back to cultivate deeper relationships. And the same happens with adults, right? The last 20 years we have been growing apart as a society. We're not spending enough time face to face. And especially after the pandemic that we were so isolated, I just hope we learn something from it and how important relationships are, especially now that we know they are the number one predictor of happiness. So we need to learn how to cultivate deeper and real connections so we can increase our levels of happiness. There was a study where we measured the levels of happiness, and it was done by the University of British Columbia and Harvard. And they had different measures also, brain scans psychologically and physiologically. And they asked them, to the first group, is they gave them money and they asked them to buy something for themselves, right? So they bought different kind of things and they went back to the lab and measured the levels of happiness again. The levels increased a little bit. And then when they came back the next day, they just went down to the same level as the day before. So basically they experienced a high as a result of shopping, but then they went back to the same levels. So the second group was the same system, but instead of asking them to buy something for themselves, they asked to buy something for someone else. So they could buy food to a homeless, donate to a charity, buy shoes for the husband, girlfriend, boyfriend, just spend the money on someone else, right? So when they went back to the lab, the levels of happiness were as high as the first group. However, when they went back the next day, they reduced a little bit, but you can still see the impact of giving after a week. So to give is to receive. When we're giving to others, we're also giving to ourselves. And there's a lot of research of how to increase not only happiness, but also levels of avoiding loneliness, self-confidence. It's a way to actually decrease loneliness and increase empathy by giving. So now we're gonna move to the intellectual well-being. I don't know about you, but I just love learning. And I always say that I will not have enough time in my life to learn everything that I want to. So one of the studies shows that curiosity is linked to longevity. If you learn, if you keep asking questions, if you have an open mind and an open heart, not only you will learn, but that curiosity and desire to learn can lead you to live longer. So lifelong learning throughout our lives is a boost to our mind, our heart, and our body. And when we talk about intellectual well-being, we're not talking only about learning from books or about philosophy or science and math. We are also talking about engaging with nature, observing what is outside, learning new dance moves, just so many things that we can learn on our daily basis. What is really important is that we engage deeply on the activities that we're doing. When we engage deeply, we can experience the benefits of learning and the potentials of the intellectual well-being. So for example, engagement with text when we're reading, right? It can bring you joy because you're so engaged. That can increase your levels of happiness. That can increment your levels of well-being. You can also become more successful in different areas. So the reading helps exercising the deep learning muscles. For example, Jewish people that kept reading the Bible over and over again, they help them to develop certain kinds of skills that made them very good businessmen because they are able to understand contracts, for example, but also to read people and know if they are trustworthy or not, so they become successful, right? So we can develop other kinds of muscles. So deep learning is also important for relationship. There is no book that is as multifaceted, as rich, as potentially interesting as another person is. A person can literally be a whole world. Therefore, if you learn how to get deeply engaged with books and find nuances and interest and excitement in reading, imagine when you actually connected that level with other people. Suddenly people can become more interesting to you, right? Because you start unpeeling them and discovering through different layers something new about them. So the problem is that people now are spending, for example, 7 seconds visiting a website. When you browse with a few clicks, moving from one page to another, this helps to get a quick overview. However, it only helps to develop and work our superficial muscles and lead us to constantly need new stimulus. This leads not only to boredom in relationships, but in general, right? To constantly be seeking novelty and limit us from developing our deep learning muscles. So looking for an immediate response in everything, not getting deeply involved with an activity can lead us to unhappiness. So that's why it's so important that we develop this kind of muscles. Now I have a question for you. How many of you are resistant to change? How many of you are afraid of failure? In general, we tend to reject failure because we don't understand its importance. Therefore, the first thing we do is actually to accept it. If you remember, we have to go through failure to learn the most important things in our life. We learn to walk by falling. We learn to eat by getting messy. We learn to write by making mistakes. So it's important that we want to keep learning through our lives. However, we still see ignorance as a form of failure. But if you think about it, it is actually the first step for learning. Not knowing is the first step to knowing. So first we have to accept failure, learn to say I don't know, and accept ignorance. There's nothing shameful. On the contrary, it's the first step to learn and grow. Even Socrates himself said, right? I only know that I know nothing. He admitted being the wisest man because he admitted his own ignorance. So there's a book that studied the greatest minds in history, and they were looking at the greatest artists and scientists and found that the common element amongst them was that they failed many, many times. For example, Thomas Alva Edison, with almost 2,000 inventions, including the light bulb and the battery, in an interview was told, "You have failed 1,000 times. Why you don't give up?" And he replied, "I have not failed 1,000 times. I have managed to show 1,000 times what it doesn't work." So it's just the approach that you follow, right? So I invite you to fail more and just accept ignorance as an opportunity to learn more. So with that, we move to the last pillar, that is the spiritual well-being. And for that, I will ask you, who considers himself a spiritual person? In the majority of the sessions that I give, most people reply that they are not or they're not sure. Spiritual can be experienced in different ways. Of course, most people relate it with religion. And of course, that's one way to actually experience spirituality. Another way is actually by finding meaning and purpose in our lives, but also by living the present moment, which we can learn through mindfulness. So if I ask you, who is more spiritual between an investment banker and a monk, who you would say? When I ask this question in my face-to-face sessions, most people say that the monk. Again, because we tend to associate spirituality with religion. However, the real answer is depends. For example, someone who finds meaning in his life through work, such as an investment banker, they can be more spiritual than a monk who no longer sees his work as important. So, spirituality is actually having a sense of meaning and purpose in your life. So for those who responded at the beginning of this pillar, who didn't consider themselves spiritual or didn't know, let me tell you that we can all experience spirituality if we find meaning in our lives. For example, a mother who finds meaning in their life because through their children, they are living a spiritual experience. Or a person who has found his or her professional vocation and that gives them meaning into their life, they are living a spiritual experience. So for those who had the opportunity to read the book of Viktor Frankl, The Man's Search for Meaning, and if you haven't read it, please, I highly recommend it. He talks about the difference between the meaning of life and the meaning in life. Meaning of life is when we ask ourselves questions like, why I'm here? What is my purpose in this life? And many people can answer this question through religion or purpose in their life by finding a big goal such as ending poverty or global warming. However, not everyone asks these kind of questions, and even if we do, we not always find the answer. See, this is why, for the purpose of this session, we're going to focus more in the meaning in life. So we need to find meaning in life in the day-to-day, right? Leading a purposeful life doesn't depend on doing something radical or grandiose. A purposeful life is found primarily in the day-to-day journey. To give you a clear example, I will tell you about an investigation or research that was done in a hospital in Michigan about the perception of work. So the hospital's janitors were interviewed about how they saw their job. They could see it as a job where the work was seen as a necessity, something they have to do for living, eating. Their motivation was their paycheck. They have no expectation or anything. And basically they were looking forward just to vacations or Friday or just a break. They could see their job as a career where they see their work as an opportunity to grow professionally. Their motivation was money and progress. Their expectation was prestige, power, and they were looking forward for a promotion or a salary increase. Or they could see it as a calling, where work is seen as a passion or a privilege. Their motivation is the work itself. Their expectation was self-fulfillment, realizing their life mission. And they were looking forward for more work because basically it was so meaningful for them. So my question is, how do you think the janitors saw their work? As a simple job, as a career, or as a calling? The reality is that they found all three answers, because there were people who didn't like cleaning at all, they just did it for money. There were people that were looking for a career progression and they were looking forward to become the head of janitors. And there were people who believed that it was meaningful what they were doing, that it had a positive impact on the recovery of the person who was sick. They were actually spending time talking to patients, or brought them flowers, or changed the decoration of the room. So they truly believed that their work was meaningful for that. So They continue the study across nurses, doctors, like just everyone, right? And we all can experience this kind of responses, right? Not everyone is gonna be always on the calling side or in the job side. The important thing here is which is more dominant, right? As I was saying, everyone has work days, career days, or calling days. The important thing here is which is more dominant in the long run. If you see your work in the first category, I think there's something you can do to be able to make time for work, to find something that is passionate and fulfilling. Beyond the sense of meaning and purpose, we can also experience spirituality also in the here and now through mindfulness. Mindfulness is recognizing feelings without getting caught up in them, living more in the moment, less in the past and in the future. And it's a way to cultivate happiness suitable for everyone. Mindfulness is not emptying the mind or stopping thinking. A relaxation technique, although it can make you feel more relaxed, but it's not the purpose, right? An escape for personality actually will reveal your own personality. So mindfulness means to pay attention in the present moment without making any judgment. Now, listing the benefits of mindfulness is more like quantifying the value of love. Its value is intrinsic to itself, so trying to break it down into little pieces is pointless. However, mindfulness has been well researched, and a list of benefits is actually proven and is useful that we can actually share them, right? The pioneer of modern mindfulness is Jon Kabat-Zinn, and he has done a lot of research on this and has shown like the many different benefits that this has. Now his work is backed up with a lot of scientific studies, and mindfulness practice actually improves mental and physical well-being. Research highlights that success is reducing stress and anxiety, attributing to reduction of cortisol, that is a hormone of stress, and also is help us to have a stronger immune system. The health benefits of mindfulness are undeniable and range from stress and pain relief and improved sleep patterns to greater likelihood of overcoming depression or addiction. Beyond the area of health is the whole area of wellness, where the benefits of mindfulness practice multiply impressively by making us more attentive, more grounded, more self-aware, more confident, moving to the autopilot habits that we usually have, right? So no longer held back by negative thought patterns about ourselves, we set ourselves to the path of unleashing our full potential. The circles of well-being, there are many benefits of mindfulness, moving from being healthier, calmer, and fitter, also to having highly effective set of lifestyle skills that make every aspect of our daily lives more rewarding. One of the most relevant research studies on the importance of mindfulness meditation was done by Richard Davidson and Jon Kabat-Zinn. Meditation had radically changed actually the brain of a lot of the people who has done this program. So this program is an 8-week program and is 1 class per week, 3 hours for 45 minutes of home at work, right? So what happened with the completion of this program, participants actually increased their positive mood, they were more social, reduced the levels of anxiety, their brain changed, because there's a way we can measure happier brains depending on the activity that we have in the prefrontal cortex of our brain, and it changed. So this program actually changed how key regions of our brain can change and improve our memory, make us more empathetic, more compassionate, more resilient under stress. They actually inject bacteria to the participants and they didn't get sick because their immune system got stronger. So they were wondering why all the participants were having all these benefits when maybe not all of them actually practiced 45 minutes at home. And that was true, right? Not all of them actually did the root work. Of course, the ones who practiced for 45 minutes were the ones who actually got the higher benefits. But even those ones who didn't follow the rules, they got benefits. So they were wondering why actually we're all getting all these benefits. And the reason why is because they were practicing mindfulness, not only when they were sitting meditating, but also when they were basically aware of their present moment on their daily life. This takes me to the 2 kinds of meditation that we can have. The formal meditation is when you are actually practicing yoga, breathing exercises, that's so mindful that you're just basically focusing on that thing. And then the informal is when you're present while you're doing something different, like, I don't know, you're present on, not multitasking, you're basically doing something like brushing your teeth or eating or taking a shower. We live most of the times in autopilot. And living in autopilot is the opposite of mindfulness. It's a state of mind disengaged from the present. So we have to learn how to come back to be present and try to exercise on both formal and informal ways. I don't know when was the last time that you actually had a meal, that you took the time to look at the colors, to taste the flavors, sense the textures, the smell. That's, for example, a mindful eating. So I encourage you to start practicing a lot of things, because when you enjoy the here and now, we can truly turn the ordinary into extraordinary. So now I would like you to go through a quick experience of meditating. It's going to be a short meditation, and it's a kind of summary of what we have been going through the entire session. So please find a comfortable position. You can sit down or lay down, whatever is more comfortable for you. And I want you to close your eyes. And I want you to lengthen your spine from your tailbone until the bottom of your back, all the way to your neck. Straight, but not strained. And I want you to breathe in and out from your nose. And now allow your attention to rest on the breath going in through your nose, filling up your belly, and then going out through your nose. Your belly goes up and down. Just focus on the air going in and out. Nothing to do, nowhere to go. Just being with the breath. If your mind wanders, gently with acceptance, bring it back to your belly going up and down. Slow, gentle, deep inhalation, followed by gentle, deep exhalation. Just as breathing is natural, it's also natural that the mind wanders. So if it does, gently bring it back to the breath going in and out. As you continue to breathe slowly, deeply, and gently, experience yourself. Experience your life as a whole, as complete. You are a spiritual being capable of purpose and presence. You are a physical being, a mind and a body united, flowing with energy and vitality. You are an intellectual being, curious, deep, thoughtful. You are a relational being, intimately loving and being loved, giving and being given to. You are an emotional being, experiencing pain and passion, compassion and joy. You are whole, so experience your wholeness, sink deeply into oneness. And if you fail to experience wholeness, accept whatever it is that you're experiencing. Because you make yourself whole when you make peace with whatever it is that you're experiencing. You make peace with whatever it is that you're experiencing. Slow, gentle, quiet inhalation, followed by a slow, gentle, quiet exhalation. And with your next exhalation, gently open your eyes. So this is just a simple experience of meditation. There are thousands of them, so try something that resonates with you, or yoga, or simply remind yourself to be present with daily activities. So we have come to the end of this session. I hope you like it, and above all, I hope you find it useful. Now you have a little toolkit that can help you to build your happiness on a daily basis. Remember that it's not enough to learn something new. The important thing is to put it into practice constantly. I invite you to choose at least one of the pillars to start working. Remember that they are interconnected, so the benefit can be reflected in the other ones. It was a pleasure to share with you a little piece of this wonderful world, which at least for me personally has helped me to be a lot more happier. So thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your day, and have a wonderful and happy life.